believe a word of it. So you'll have your own experience, right? So I used Uber for the first time when I got to San Francisco. Yes, I'm no longer a virgin. And my phone rang when I got the car, and I took the call, and what I said is, "That'll be fine. And please don't interpret my experience." And it's like the driver nearly stopped the car. Wow. What'd you say? Don't let someone else interpret your experience. Now imagine living like this. So they're going to tell you you ought to be upset. Did you see the way she looked at you? Did you catch that tone? Did you catch that eye roll? Here, have some misery. Here, be upset, be offended, be affronted. And if we're not careful, what are we going to do?
Just that.
Just that. More angst. More despair. For 2,000 recorded years, the oldest paradigm in the world, this victimization, this victimhood that has got a hold of us. So yes, if you have a pulse, you have a victim archetype. Period. I'm not immune from it either. Believe me, it takes work. It takes intention. It takes prayer. It takes knowing. It takes spiritual practices to not let this thing run the show. So let's give the victim archetype a little room this morning. So hold up your right hand, any hand, your right or dominant hand, and lay it right on your forehead. And this is the victim salute. Oh! Oh! This is what we're dealing with. It's just a thought away. Just a thought away. So we can stand up and say, use me, God, use me. Don't worry, it will. Show me what I am to do. It's like, it will. Just how are you going to relate to what it shows you? So then imagine when you leave here all pumped up, powered up, positive up. If I was any better, I'd have a twin. It's one of Mama's sayings. If I was any better, I'd have to put a rock in my shoe. And then before you leave here, somebody will give you the look. They won't remember you. You may have a parking ticket. Oh. After all I've done for God. So if you walk out there then and see a parking ticket or a flat tire, let's go with for both, and you call it a problem, what will you create? What experience will you create? Suffering. Let's call this true confessions. What happens in you when you don't get what you want? All together. Pouting.
Whining.
Anger. Whining. Complaining.
Frustration.
Resentment. Withholding. Stress. Frustration. Irritation. Sound like a life? Hurt, pitiful, powerless, resigned, why bother? Democrats. Oh! On purpose. The allure The allure, see the temptation. So lead us not into the temptation of mind. Lead us not, dear God, lead us not into the temptation of mind. Deliver us from the allure, deliver us from the temptation, deliver us to sanity. Deliver me. For here is the power. For there is the power. For there is the glory. For there is all the power in the universe available to me if I can live welcoming it. Now, I don't have to love it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to vote for it. And I don't have to be a victim to it either. Herein lies liberation. Freedom. So who holds the key? So your key will be to freedom, or it will be to Hell Hotel. So when you notice you've checked into Hell Hotel, who's got the key?
We do.
Use it as a fast track out. I am in Hell Hotel again. I am trapped in my BS. Belief systems. I am trapped in my BS. I must awaken. I must question. What am I thinking? I shouldn't have a ticket. Sound sane? Normal?
Yeah.
What does reality say? If there's a ticket on your car and you're believing you shouldn't have a ticket, who's crazy? There's one of us off. It's not God. It's not reality. Reality rules. You don't have to like the ticket or love the ticket, and you don't have to be a victim to a ticket either. What would that be like if angst left you?
Liberation.
Get a sense of it. What would it be like if angst left you? If angst, frustration, irritation abandoned you?
Peace.
Yes. Get a sense of it. Get a sense of it in your body. That's what the work is about. Not to talk about this, not to have a theory of this, but to have an experience of this. For until you experience this for yourself, it's just Martha's blah, blah, blah. Crazy Creek woman talk. Or Reverend Ken singing his positive notes. Until you experience this for yourself. So life gives us every opportunity to practice, doesn't it? There's no shortage of curriculum. I get my own curriculum. When you Google Martha Creek, and 20 years ago you Google Martha Creek, what came up was Martha Creek Provincial Park in the north of British Columbia, Canada. I have a park named after me, and no one told me. I wasn't even there. So Martha Creek Provincial Park. Now, if you had a park named after you, wouldn't you want to go? So I thought that day, I'm gonna go up there one day. I'll just have to do that. So I kind of filed it away as something to do one day. Then over the years, I didn't go. Now, when you Google Martha Creek, the entity of Martha Creek is first. And the position had shifted for Martha Creek Provincial Park. And it took that shift for it to come back into my awareness. Can you follow me? Like when it was in the place it's always in, I wasn't seeing it. But when it changed places, when it shifted, I could see it again. Okay, I'm going to do that. I got to thinking, I looked at my schedule, I'm already booked to be in Victoria, British Columbia. Been going up there 3 years in a row. My God, it's in the same country, it's in the same province, it's bound to be close. Some of you have been. Yes, it's close. 8 hours in a car. Cross a ferry, car on the ferry, here we go. And then my friend Doris, who had booked me to come up there, was like, I don't want you flying up there, I want to go with you. This is a bucket list thing, this will be fun. It'll be a girls' trip. Oh, come to Victoria, we'll go on the ferry, we'll drive up there, we'll stay in a ski lodge. Okay, here we go. Then Diane from Ohio said, I want to go with a bucket list trip. I want to go. I want to be there when you get to the Martha Creek Provincial Park. I'll take the pictures. It'll be the book cover. It'll be the book cover. This picture will be the book cover. Okay, we're all going. Oh my goodness, have you ever been in that part? The drive. Oh my God, the day. Just getting up to go. And after all this energy, then somewhere along the way, I said, now, what is the ferry schedule? Doris, who lives there, went, huh? The ferry schedule, like how we'll get from here to the mainland. Oh, yeah. She freaked out. She started walking around like this. I live on an island. 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 She's like, oh my God, I didn't think about the ferry schedule. Oh! Then to the ferry. Oh, we're going to make it after all. Then we won't get there till after dark. Oh! Have to wait till one more day to get to the Martha Creek Provincial Park. Oh, after all I've done for God. The drive was magnificent. The ferry ride. Oh, you know what I mean? And that sound and just gorgeous, gorgeous. The drive, the further we got, the more beautiful it got. Lakes, 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 mountains, and these unique gold trees in the middle of all that green. Like gifts, 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 gifts. So this destination, the Martha Creek Provincial Park, is like, now if my focus had been on that destination, could I have taken in all of this? If I was believing it's about the destination, I would have missed the gifts of the beauty of these friends with me, their excitement, them wanting to drive me, not just wanting to drive me, actually driving me. And what's here now? Like what's in my field now? Can you put the slide up, honey? So here is what you see when you Google Martha Creek and go to the Provincial Park. So now this is going to be me standing by that sign. I visioned it. I prayed about it. I intended about it. I got 2 or more together and worked on it. Then we drove up here, and guess what we saw when we got to the sign? Reality ruling again. Not what I had in mind. This instead. Now where do you get to pick here? How are you going to relate to not getting what you wanted? How will I relate to not getting what I wanted? And I can tell you, I thought I would laugh my inside. I laughed and laughed. It was a primordial laugh. I'm sure I was down somewhere laughing because it couldn't have been better. And the last words I'd said as we came up that road, the last 2 miles of that road were more beautiful than all the 8 hours of the road had been. This place from Revelstoke, these last 2 miles up there to this place was even more beautiful than the prior 8 hours had been. And I kept asking her, can you step the car? Can you stop the car? Like, you know how it is when you want to take it in. You just take this in. And the last words and the last thought I could track that I had thought or said was, how could it get any better? This was my answer. This was how God would use me that day. This is how I got to exercise my I hold the key muscle. I don't get to pick what happens. I don't get to pick the outcome. I do not get to pick how things are going to go. Damn. What I get to pick, however, 100% of the time is how I'm going to relate to this. What meaning am I going to give this? What experience am I going to claim through this? And if there's a point of choice, if there's a point of choice, it's there. How am I going to relate to what's happening? It's either going to be like this or like this. And in my humanness, it's not all that easy to do this, is it? When we're invested in something, we've worked hard for it, we planned for it, saved for it, spent money for it, sacrificed for it, how easy would it be to go, oh, this is better? It's like, no, that would be insane. So how can I be with it? Not having to love it, not having to like it, and accepting it as it is. Now, in the meantime, my friends, D&D, were not finding it all that funny. Not nearly as funny as I was finding it. And they immediately now remember, whatever we see out there is a reflection. And is that part of your belief system? Like, we're all aspects of one. So as a part of humanity, then whatever is going on in another human being is also an aspect of myself. So these aspects of myself that appeared as D&D immediately went into action with, we're going to uncover that thing. We are not driving this far and not getting a picture of you standing by that provincial park. Now, the other D, Doris, who happens to be a resident of Canada that lives there, said, we're not uncovering a federal sign. Uncover, don't uncover. Must uncover, not uncover. Uncover, don't uncover. Help me uncover. I'll break your arm if you uncover. Part of our humanness. Part of our humanness. And then I realized this would make a better book cover than what I had in mind. So it won't be what I had in mind. It'll be perfect instead. See if you can say that to somebody. Just turn to somebody. It won't be what I have in mind. It'll be perfect instead. Turn back to that same person and say, I'm really glad you're here. However, this message is for me. I'm glad you're here. However, this message is for me. This message is for me. This message is for me. I hold the key. How am I going to relate to what happens? How am I going to relate to what is? The only time we suffer, I'm reading from Loving What Is, an excerpt. It's free online, thework.com. The book stays with me. What is the chapter titled. See if you can take that in. What is, is. Period. The only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is. The only time I suffer, the only time you suffer is when you believe a thought that argues with what is. This is good news. There's a way out. Guess who holds the key? If I could free you, you would already be free. So guess who I can free? Guess who you can free? When the mind is perfectly clear, it can see that what is simply is what is. If you want reality to be different than it is, you might as well try to teach a cat to bark. Now we're laughing because that's exactly what we're doing. With our parents, our children, our co-workers, our neighbors, are all barking, or all meowing, and we're over them going, bark, 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 come on, bark, bow well, bow well. And then they, after we exhaust ourselves and exhaust them, they look up at us and say what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're quick. Wanting reality to be different than it is hopeless. Choir?
Hopeless.
Hopeless. Hopeless. Wanting reality to be different than it is hopeless. Hopeless. And yet if we pay attention, you'll notice that we believe myths and fantasies and fairy tales like these many times during the day. People should be kinder. Fantasy or reality? All together?
Fantasy.
Choir? Fantasy. Fantasy. Wanting people, saying people should be kinder is a fantasy. Then how do you treat people that you believe should be kinder and they're not?
Not kindness.
Not kindly. Now this is the insanity. Because the very thing we're praying and singing and claiming that we want this world to be about, we are exponentially putting out into the world the very thing we claim we want to end. Unkindness. So if I believe the thought, you should be kinder, how will I treat you? Like that's a teacher. Who would you be if you weren't under the BS? If you weren't under the thought that people should be kinder, who would you be? Kinder, awake, aware, resourceful, innovative, creative, intentional, purposeful, exercising your options, free, centered. Would that be okay with you? To live a life like that, whether they're kind or not? My spouse should agree with me. Yeah, only the people in relationship are laughing. The rest of you are still believing it's possible. Well, don't let us take your hell from you. This is why people won't let me do their marriage vows anymore. The Word reveals that what we think shouldn't have happened should have happened. Not because it's good or bad, just because it happened because it happened. It hadn't happened, it did happen, it did. It should have happened just because it did. No thinking in the world, no praying, no crying, no wailing, no wishing, no wanting can change what is over. This does not mean that you condone it, that you approve of it. It simply means that you can see things more clearly, with a broader perspective, and with less resistance, and without the confusion of the BS. No one wants a child to get sick. Well, no sane person would want a child to get sick. And do children get sick?
Yes.
Reality. No one wants to be in an accident or have a flat tire. And do those things happen? Yes. Is it assured they will happen again in the physical? Yes. So how is it helpful to argue with them when they're happening? How is that helpful? How is it helpful to you, to your family, to your relationships, to the world, for you to argue with what's happening? We know better than to do this. But until today, maybe until today, we didn't know how. So we not only know what to do, we know how to do it now. Hang around. Cancel whatever you thought you had to do this afternoon. And build a little muscle for this. Test it for yourselves. For your sake, for the sake of your relationships, for your family, the next generations of the world. Exercise. Use your key. Use the key. You have it. It's a privilege, a heartfelt privilege for me to serve here with you today in Unity San Francisco. The vision for my own life is to serve those who serve. So that's what I believe about you. And I believe that what we sing and pray about is possible. Not up there, not later on, but here now, today. May that be your reality too. I love you and can't help it.